Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. It is Monday, March 21st. It's a trade deadline day in the National Hockey League. Very busy, lots of activity, more so the last 2 days really than today, but we're starting to see some things get done today. One big trade in particular, which of course we will get to, Ian Cameron. Great to have Alex B. Smith back with us in the bunker there in his apartment, which has been totally railroaded for the last week. It's good to know that his hearing is still intact. After everything he's had to endure the last week, I was just shouting at him before the show, making sure his hearing, he didn't need a hearing aid or something, because obviously he's had a lot of noise and banging and all kinds of loud noises that he's had to deal with the last week. But it's good to have Alex back. And look what we have here. This is a scary sight, folks. This is Terry Edelman, Minnesota Wild fan supreme, with a very creepy looking picture of Marc-Andre Fleury smiling right behind him next to the Stanley Cup. This is Terry Edelman's wet fantasy right here in front of our very eyes right now. Marc-Andre Fleury and the Stanley Cup right behind him. This is what dreams are made of for our guy, Terry Edelman. And look who else is here. I mean, just, nose to the grindstone, fingers to the bone the last week, writing tons of articles, keeping on top of the trade stuff, covering two teams at the same time, Habs and Bruins. What can't Jimmy Murphy do these days? Jimmy, we'll start with you, Jimmy. Welcome in. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys. And I apologize for the MIAs lately, but like you said, I just been a little busy these days. Up in Montreal right now in my hotel room, though, watching the final hour tick down into the deadline. And I think we're about to get a flurry of deals come in. That's usually the case each year in the final hour. And then actually after as well, because they got to do the trade calls and stuff. So it's been crazy, but how are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing terrific. We'll do the intros first before we get into some trade deadline stuff. But Alex, let's hear from you. Obviously, what a week for you, right?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. Obviously, with trade deadline week's always a big deal. So trying to keep up with the games while literally not really having an apartment in one piece has been kind of tough. So they keep delaying things and so forth. So hopefully I'll have that done by the end of the week. Finally have new windows and everything. So, but other than that, obviously, like I said, big news today with the trade, Fleury getting moved, and everybody's already excited here in Minnesota. I'm going to be at the game tonight. I can't imagine what it's going to be like, just that atmosphere. And, everybody now knows that the Wild are all in to make a run for the cup, and it's going to be an electric atmosphere. And of course, the irony that they're playing the Vegas Golden Knights tonight. Fleury's obviously, the story with him, and though that team and Fleury, it's going to make it for an even more electric atmosphere. So I'm looking forward to that this evening, and looking forward to, we got 4 games here, all of them pretty good games tonight. And, this is the time. This is the push for the playoffs for all these teams that are making these deals moving forward. They're all looking for that one goal to make it as deep as they can this summer.
Yeah, no question about that. We'll start with the Marc-Andre Fleury trade, obviously, because it's the big one that's happened today. We'll talk a little about what happened over the weekend too. Giroux to Florida. Obviously, Hampus Lindholm to Boston, Giordano to Toronto. We'll hit on all of those, and Blackwell, for that matter, to Toronto. We'll hit on all of those, but we'll start with Marc-Andre Fleury because it's the big kahuna of all the trades today, for sure. And we've got Terry on the show with us as well to talk about it. Look, it's obviously, I think, at the point where Bill Guerin saw what he's been seeing, what we've all been seeing from the Minnesota goaltending lately, and it's not been good enough. It's not been consistent enough, whether it's been Talbot, whether it's been Kakkonen. It just hasn't been at that level that you need to win a Stanley Cup. So what's he done? He's gone and fixed that, and gone to address that, bringing in Marc-Andre Fleury. I like that addition. Obviously, we know he can still play at a high level. Yeah, there have been some rough times as his numbers down a little bit in Chicago. Any goalie's numbers would be down playing behind that Chicago defense this year. I don't worry about that too much. He's going to be fired up. He talked about it in the interviews today. Chance to win a Stanley Cup. Good organization, a better defense, much better blue line in front of him. You've got Bill Guerin, who he's got a close relationship with. That's why we hinted all weekend, Vito and I. We talked about it. There was a damn good chance that Fleury would go to Minnesota. Where there was smoke, there was fire. I believed in this rumor being true, and sure enough, it played out that way. today. And don't sleep on the addition of Jacob Middleton and the other trade Minnesota made with San Jose, sending Capo Kakinen, and they're getting Jacob Middleton in return. This is a good, hard-nosed defenseman who's physical, will knock someone down on their can in front of the net. Very tenacious. He's terrific with his stick positioning, body positioning. He knows how to play without the puck defensively. This is huge for Minnesota, a great addition. And San Jose valued him a lot, particularly his defensive play. He can drop the gloves, too. He's been in a handful of fights this year. So there's a lot to like about Jacob Middleton's game. So thumbs up for Bill Guerin so far today. Terry, you've got to be one excited Minnesota Wild fan.
Talbot got traded? Oh, I had no idea there. No, I'm totally happy. This is awesome. I think this is probably the best trade deadline day the Wild have ever had in their history. It hasn't really been – the trade deadline day has never really been a great day for the Wild. Bill Guerin, I already completely trusted him before this, but I think he just made two great moves today. Kakinen, yes, I'm a huge fan of his. I do like him.
Still could be very good in time. Yep.
With him, though, when Talbot gets injured, Kakinen has to come in. He plays amazing. He looks amazing. As soon as Talbot comes back, for some reason, Kakinen takes a step back and just doesn't play well. So it was never going to be Kakinen's net. He's not the future. Jesper Wallstedt's the future here. Bringing in Fleury, not only for how he's going to play in the net, but just being in the room is huge. He has a history with Bill Guerin, obviously in Pittsburgh. Talbot will play tonight, but I expect a motivated Talbot here. I don't think he's just going to want to give up this net. And he's been playing well lately, the last few games. So, this has been a great trade deadline. I wouldn't be surprised if there's another move that the Wild make before it's over. But if this is it, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, no doubt. It's an exciting day in Minnesota. Alex, you hit on it already, right? You're going to that game tonight, correct?
Yeah. And it's funny because I already found out I was going to go to the game a couple of nights ago, and like I said, now to wake up and basically see this trade. Like I said, the atmosphere in town already is just kind of a buzz. Everybody's really hyped up and hoping that this is a Wild team that can make that run. And like I said, this move should really solidify. Except both moves, not just this, but adding Middleton as well to the blue line. Like I said, it shores up the gaps that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. As a Hawks fan, I was kind of disappointed that we didn't get Kakinen back because I think he is a good goalie. And Terry, you made a great point. He's a guy who needs to be a number one at some point. He needs to be given that chance. When he plays consistently and starts consistently, he's a better goalie. He's not one of these guys who can kind of work as well with the 1A, 1B system or be a true backup. So I think he'll get that chance now in San Jose. Obviously, they've had goalie issues for a while. Like I said, I would have loved to see that in Chicago, but he should fare well, moving forward. But the Wild, like I said, is just two great moves. And like I said, they might make one more move, but they are firmly set right now. In my opinion, I think they have enough to make a deep run, at least go to the Western Conference Final. If not, make it to the Cup Finals. And if that happens, the pick that the Hawks got, that's now currently a second-round pick, becomes a first-round pick. So it's a win-win in that deal. And it's just like I said, it should be an electric atmosphere tonight. And the fans. This team feeds off of the fans at the XL Center. It's going to be a good time, and it's just going to be one of those games where I really think this could be the push forward. If they have a big win tonight, like we saw a couple nights ago, where they have that big home crowd, a big home win, just fuel the fire even more, and everybody's just going to feed off of it. The team, that locker room, and the fans here in the city, they're just all going to feed off of one another. It has that feel like it does when the Hawks were winning in 2010 and 2013. Honestly, being here and being around that's the kind of feeling I have right now.
Yeah, that's the excitement level. Yeah.
It's perfect to have this 9-game homestand.
Yeah,
right at this time, we got 6 games left. I think it's just a great situation too.
We're a betting show, obviously, the Ice Guys hockey betting show. We're going to set the over-under 21.5 number of dings for Jimmy's phone during the show today. You can hear it. I mean, my goodness. Welcome to trade deadline day, ladies and gentlemen. It's a busy one. Jimmy, what's your thoughts here? Marc-Andre Fleury, obviously, and not just him, Middleton. We need to mention Middleton, too, because that is a nice, great, sturdy addition on the back end.
I'm going to even mention Delorier. I mean, they just got a lot leaner and tougher. The Minnesota Wild, that is. I mean, obviously, Fleury is the big showstopper there, so to speak. But I love the grit that Billy Guerin has added there. This is going to obviously be a tough battle in the playoffs in that Western Conference. The teams they got to play. And, Colorado's not sitting still. St. Louis isn't sitting still. So kudos to Bill Guerin right now, who's not messing around. He does not want his team to be 1-out in the playoffs. And I think he's probably seen some things that have worried him over the last month when they were going through that rough stretch. And I think one of those was the lack of pushback and the lack of fight in his team. I think they added that with those two big guys right there.
Yeah, they sure did. Yeah, that is true. Renus Vitolin's Vito in our chat right now. It's the happiest I've ever seen Terry. It's true. Like, look at that smile. Look at it. I mean, it's plastered all over his face right now, how happy a guy he is. And why wouldn't he be for this Wild team?
Jimmy is totally right, too, what he just said. Bringing in Delorier, right away he said, I'm coming in so that Marcus Foligno can stay on the ice.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to take those 5-minute penalties, put me in the box for 5 minutes, keep Marcus Foligno on the ice. And that's huge because Foligno, Greenway, Eriksson Ek, they're completely, with only two of them, it's a completely different line. You need all three. So having Foligno on the ice instead of going to the box for fighting is huge. So, yes, they gave up quite a bit for Delorier. He's not going to attribute offensively, but I'm okay with the move just because it keeps Foligno on the ice.
Yeah, no question. We're going to run down quickly in rapid fire form the other trades, and then we'll talk in depth about the big few that happened over the weekend. But it looks like right now we're just hearing that Arturi Lehkonen from Montreal is off to Colorado. Mm-hmm. That's a nice addition for Colorado. This guy's playing well offensively lately as well. So they get a guy that's in good form as well. Who's played in the playoffs, of course, was on the Canadian team last year that went to the Stanley Cup final. So that's a nice addition there for the Avalanche, in my opinion. Good trade there. The Oilers, speaking of Montreal, they got Brett Kulak, a defenseman, to give them some depth, which is a solid move as well. Andrew Cogliano as well, also off to the Colorado Avalanche just moments ago, traded from San Jose. Good defensive-minded center. I mean, he's going to help you at that end of the ice, especially right now, which is great to see. As you can tell, yeah, Jimmy's going to bounce in and out, I'm sure, during the course of the show. It's busy as hell. We're half an hour away from the trade deadline. Lots going down. We've got a couple others to make note of here as well. It's just a busy day for sure. Justin Braun on his way to the New York Rangers as well. Again, the Rangers could always use a little depth in terms, and a good defensive-minded defenseman, which Justin Braun certainly is. They could use that on the back end to go with those puck movers like Adam Fox, among others. So that's a nice move for them. No question. Nick Leddy goes to St. Louis, gives them a little depth on the blue line as well. So those have been some of the main. Nathan Beaulieu goes to Pittsburgh from Winnipeg, which is, if he stays healthy, he's a good defenseman. But that's always been the issue the last couple of years for Nathan Beaulieu, is his ability to stay healthy. So those are some of the main ones that have gone down today. I'm sure we'll hear a few more trades roll in between now and the deadline. And even after the 3 p.m. Eastern deadline, there's usually some trades that get reported after the deadline. So we'll definitely announce them as we hear them. As far as what happened over the weekend, trade deadline, we'll bring up the main ones. Giroux to Florida. We saw Giordano and Blackwell to Toronto. Hampus Lindholm to Boston. Those were really some of the main ones that took place over the weekend. Look, a Florida team that's just already loaded up front just got even better with Giroux. It's not just, what he's good along the forechecking role. He wins board battles. He wins puck battles. He can score in all different areas. He's got a good release, but he can go to the front of the net, score goals there for you as well, win faceoffs, all situations, leadership in the dressing room. You're talking about acquiring a captain from his previous team, the Philadelphia Flyers. So just obviously should be a great fit for the Florida Panthers. Toronto, Giordano and Blackwell are nice moves. There's no question. But we've seen before in the past that Toronto's made what we thought were nice moves at the deadline. and it hasn't panned out, and it hasn't resulted in playoff success. So at the end of the day, that's what it's going to be judged upon. But in theory, does Giordano help that blue line? Of course he does, because even at 38 years old, he can still play at a pretty good level. When you're talking about a blue line, especially lately, that's had some holes in it, and Jake Muzzin's been out, and you're worried about who's going to step up and be a good defensive presence on that blue line, Giordano is going to help that quite a bit. As far as Colin Blackwell, he's a good depth forward who can score, but he's a great defensive forward, Colin Blackwell as well. So, and Dubas didn't give up a first-round pick in that trade, which I thought was the best part of it. He didn't give up any high capital in order to get those two guys in there. So, great job by him. But again, does this mean that this trade is going to be evaluated based on whether they win a playoff series for the first time, it feels like, in my lifetime? Well, it feels that way. It's been 18 years. So, that's where you're going to find out whether this Leaf trade was a success or not. And Jimmy can certainly talk about this one. Hampus Lindholm. Look, we talked about this with Boston. I think Charlie McAvoy is a terrific defenseman. And then after that, you've got good defensemen in Grzelcyk, good defenseman at times in Carlo, although he sometimes has his rough patches here and there. And then after that, it's just a whole bunch of, concerns and question marks on the Boston blue line. They needed a blue liner in a worst way, and this guy comes in and he's going to shore that up. He's got tons of experience, played in the playoffs, good at both ends of the ice. Hampus Lindholm is a nice addition for the Boston, and they had to have it. Boston had to grab a blue liner, a good one, a veteran one, an experienced one, and they got their guy in Hampus Lindholm. So well done by the Bruins there. Jimmy, we'll start with you on the trades over the weekend. Giroux, the Toronto deal, and Lindholm to Boston.
Yeah, well, I'll start with the Boston one there, too. I mean, I think this could go down when all is said and done. It could go down as being one of, if not the best trades that Don Sweeney ever makes. The fact he was able to, not just get him, but then lock him up to that, what I thought was a pretty reasonable contract there. I don't like giving 8 years. He's going to be, about 36 by the time this runs out. But at the same time, that's what you got to do for a premium defenseman in the NHL. And that's what they've been missing, guys, right, is size. They needed a minutes eater. They needed a physical guy and a guy that can also move the puck to play alongside Charlie McAvoy there. And they got that. And then today, I mean, he's only going to be a 6 or 7, depth guy, but they added even more size with Josh Brown from the Senators. So, much like the Wild, the Bruins put an emphasis on getting some size and grittiness, especially on the back end there. The Giordano move, I like it. I mean, I'm at a loss of words to describe the Toronto Maple Leafs and what they're doing right now. I mean, how you think that your goaltending duel that you have right now is going to get you, they're lucky that the East is settled. Let me just put it this way. If they were in the West and they were in the 5th slot in the West right now, I would go on record and saying they're going to miss the playoffs, because this team can't go anywhere until they fix that goaltending situation. And unless they do it here in the final 24 minutes, we're at 2:36 p.m. Eastern, I don't see they can get whoever they want. They can go out and get Connor McDavid for all I care. Really, you can't. Obviously, the Oilers prove that. They have McDavid, but they don't have goalies. So what those two teams are doing, not addressing that situation, I think is just irresponsible management.
Yeah, the goaltending it's really weird what's been going on. They put Peter Mrazek on waivers yesterday, and I understand that. I mean, he's not been good. He's obviously struggled. And they had Hari Sateri in play. Apparently, that's how he pronounced it, is the Hari Sateri. Because
great name.
The other way, Hari Sateri just makes me laugh every time. But apparently, it's actually Hari. That's his first name, Hari Sateri.
Not Hari Carey.
Yeah.
Hari Carey Sateri.
But I thought they acquired him, or because of the fact that unfortunately they had to put him on waivers when they signed him, the Leafs, and unfortunately he didn't stick around. Arizona claimed him, so I think that was actually going to be a plan, that they were going to have him as part of the organization. Now we don't know. Sateri is just as friggin' much of a question mark and an unknown as Shalgren, Campbell, Mrazek, or anybody else. Because look, he's been good in the last 3 years over in the KHL. It's been actually great numbers over there, but we know that doesn't always translate to the NHL. And he wasn't good enough to stick in the NHL in the first place. And that's why he went over there. And now I heard he fixed his game and he's fixed some things in his form and his technique, and he's worked on things and he's improved over there. But still, can he come back into the NHL and play well for you? We don't know that just yet. So as a result, they thought maybe Sateri was going to be part of this goaltending puzzle for Toronto, but now he gets claimed by Arizona. So that won't be the case. That means you've got Campbell still out and you've got Eric Shalgren right now. at this point in time. Mrazek cleared waivers, so just about an hour ago. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him now. But yeah, you would think now with time, running out here, is Georgiev on the table here for the Leafs? Who knows? Or someone, to try to bring in a goalie right before the deadline. I think Georgiev, and maybe you send Mrazek to the Rangers, try to make that work. I don't know. But it's definitely, and look, Georgiev, we shit on him all the time, lately, especially he hasn't been great. And then yesterday, day before the trade deadline, he throws an absolute gem out there against Carolina yesterday, an unbelievable performance. It's like Alexander Brodeur last night against the Carolina Hurricanes. He was terrific in that game. 40 saves? Carolina's desperate for a win. They've lost a few in a row in Carolina, back-to-back for the Rangers, and he was just phenomenal. And it's like, man, why can't we get Georgiev like that all the time? But he was absolutely terrific last night, and you would think maybe there's a team out there that wants to look in the direction of Alexander Georgiev right before this 3 p.m. Eastern trade deadline, but we will have to wait and see on that. Alex, you can mention anything you want from the weekend, the Giroux trade, anything else that went down.
Yeah, the Giroux trade. I mean, that's obviously a big deal, and it's interesting. I mean, there's obviously been guys who've played a long time with one team and then get moved. But has there ever been a player who's played exactly 1,000 games where his 1,000th game with one team was his final game with that club and then get moved? I don't think that's ever happened before. So that had to be, a kind of a whirlwind feel for him to, have that ceremony and also kind of it being a going away because he knew he was going to get dealt just a matter of where he goes. But now going to Florida and that team's just absolutely loaded. And, obviously, we talk about building a playoff team. You talk about goaltending. You talk about adding grit and toughness because you got to be able to battle and be more physical than usual. But this Florida team's kind of built like, maybe they could just, start winning playoff games by 6 or 7, scoring 6 or 7 goals a night. I mean, that seems to be that the top end of that offense. There's the ceilings. There's no limit to the ceiling with them now. And now they have, obviously Bobrovsky playing well. They seem to be built to make a deep run as well. And Giroux adding that veteran presence, a guy who's, been to a cup final and been, like I said, been a captain, most of his career. It just, it's a great move for Florida. The Giordano move, I mean, it's, like I said, Toronto's doing all they can to try to help shore up that blue line. But, like I said, without them, making a move for the goaltending, I don't think really much is going to change there. And same thing with Edmonton. Edmonton not making a move unless they do in the next 20 minutes for a goalie. Especially now we saw, like I said, going back to the Fleury Kokkinen thing, like if Fleury goes to the Wild, Kokkinen is now available. You'd think Edmonton and Toronto would have been scrambling trying to put something together to get him because he's probably one of the better options, especially if you want to do something long term in the case of Edmonton, because you're gonna you got Mike Smith who's 40. You got Koskinen, who I think is going to at the end of his deal. So to help, find a goal you could help you now and in the future would have been the best spot for the Oilers. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. Obviously, it's not going to be Koskinen, but I don't think they're going to be able to make a move of that substantiality at this point. They just got to try to find something that'll work right now. But it's funny how the goalie carousel works. Like you said with the Sateri, move, and then he ends up going to Arizona. Wedgwood gets traded out of nowhere to Dallas. So you'd like to think that there's going to be some goalies that are moving around a little bit in the next few minutes because there's some teams that definitely need it. Toronto and Edmonton, if those are the biggest gaps for them right now moving forward.
You know what that tells me? Braden Holtby ain't coming back anytime soon from this injury that he's had for the last week or so, bringing in Wedgwood in Dallas because obviously they don't feel good enough about Adam Scheel, who is sitting as the backup to Ottinger over the weekend from the AHL. And his numbers in the AHL, we talked about this, Vito and I, yesterday. In case he had started against the Islanders, optimally they ended up going to or Washington rather yesterday. They ended up going back with Ottinger on a back-to-back yesterday, but Scheel's numbers were kind of rough. When you're barely above a 900 save percentage in the AHL, that's not necessarily a good thing. And that's why we were a little bit concerned. And obviously they go after Wedgwood because obviously I think Holtby's going to be out for still some period of time, no question. Terry, did you want to mention?
Guys, I just want to jump in. I gotta go. I'm getting something here that I might have to jump on and write.
All right,
now.
No problem. Good to see you though. Even for a few minutes.
My one play today is the over in the first period Bruins Habs. That's it.
All right, good stuff, Jimmy.
All right,
we'll see you later.
Cheers, guys.
There he is, Jimmy Murphy. Like I say, not many people working harder than him the last week, for never mind week, 2 weeks, longer than that. I mean, it's just been remarkable how busy the guy's been. But Jimmy Murphy, there he is on the Ice Guys show. Terry, anything from the weekend trade-wise? What stuck out to you?
Well, Giordano, Leafs need him. Leafs obviously need a defenseman, but Jimmy and Alex are right. Leafs and Edmonton, they both need to get a goaltender. I don't think Kakinen would have worked because neither team has a defenseman. Wild needed a defenseman, so the trade with San Jose made sense. But I don't know if Leafs or Edmonton have a defenseman the Wild would have wanted. But there are definitely goalies available out there, and Edmonton should make the playoffs. Leafs will make the playoffs. Go for it. Like you need a goaltender. Goaltending is so important. So I'm surprised that neither have acquired a goaltender yet. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. We've got to see what happens here down the stretch because we've got about 15 minutes before the trade deadline. Of course, just when the deadline hits, don't think, we're not going to hear of any trades. There's trades that slip through the wires after the deadline that we hear for the first time. So there's very potential that we could hear some trades after 3 p.m. Eastern. And like I said, if we hear anything between now and the end of the show in terms of major deals, we will mention them here on the Ice Guys show. Let's turn our attention to tonight's games. I said yesterday on the show, be careful tonight. Tread lightly because there's lineup uncertainty up and down the board. Players are coming in, players are going out. This is obviously trade deadline day. Lineups are very, very unsteady right now in a lot of these instances. So just be aware of that in some of these games. And there's only 4 games, which I like. It's nice the NHL went with a lighter slate tonight on trade deadline day, loading it up for tomorrow instead with 11 games. I think this is like the 3rd straight Tuesday that there's going to be 11 games on the card, which is a good thing because we've got our next betcast, obviously, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. This will be my last betcast for 2 weeks because there'll be one next Tuesday on March 29th, but I'll be in San Antonio, so I won't be on that one. But there still will be a betcast next Tuesday, and I'll be on tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. We may end it a little earlier tomorrow night just because, got a big day ahead Wednesday. It's the day before I leave for San Antonio, Texas. Lots to do, lots to pack, and make sure all your I got to do the COVID test on Wednesday, all that shit. So we're gonna maybe wrap up the betcast a little earlier tomorrow night. Not stay on right till the end, but still we'll be there at least at the beginning, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Ice Guys betcast Tuesday night. Looking forward to that as always. All right, Boston, Montreal. We've got Boston minus 230, road favorite, 6 the total in this game. The Bruins, of course, obviously active at the trade deadline. We talk about with Hampus Lindholm being brought in. However, he's not going to play tonight. As he, they're going to try to, work him in. He's also been a situation where he's, traveling from Anaheim to Boston, going from the West Coast to the East Coast. So you won't see him tonight make his Bruins debut. More likely going to see him Thursday night when they take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Patrice Bergeron placed on IR, which is obviously not something you want to see if you're the Bruins, but he'll miss tonight's game. He'll return once he's healthy. Bruce Cassidy said, though, it's not going to be something that's long-term. They still hope maybe at the end of the week or next week to have Bergeron back. So this is not going to be a situation where he's going to be out for multiple weeks, which is a sigh of relief, certainly, if you're a Boston Bruins fan. Jake Allen confirmed in net for Montreal tonight. Not at all a surprise. He started the last 2 games for the Canadiens. Looked a lot sharper and a lot more comfortable Saturday night in the 5-1 win against Ottawa. That first game against Dallas, where they lost 4-3, I don't think he played his best. I don't think he was, I think he was a little bit, for a long time not playing, maybe not sharp initially. You needed get that game under your belt, feel a little bit better. So he did play better against Ottawa. Will be challenged here by this Bruins team. And the one thing, too, with the Canadiens is as they trade pieces away, that lineup gets thinner, up front. You don't have the depth now. Maybe you did have. You just traded away Arturi Lehkonen earlier today. Brett Kulak, you traded away a defenseman. And I'm looking at this Montreal lineup for tonight, you guys. And I'm seeing a forward group where you still have Caulfield, Suzuki, Anderson, Drouin, Pitlick, and Hoffman, your top 6 forwards. But then you look at the third and the fourth line, you've got a mishmash of Pezzetta, Dvorak, Armia, Evans, Byron, and Dauphin is probably what you're looking at, because, you've got Brendan Gallagher still out. And then on the blue line, you've got Romanov, Petrie, Edmondson, Weidman, Savard's out. Of course, Weber hasn't played yet this year. And you're probably looking at William Lagesson and Corey Schoenman on the third pair tonight for the Montreal Canadiens. That's where it really shows that, they're going to be looking pretty youthful, at that back end. Now, obviously, Lagesson's a guy, though, that played in Edmonton, traded to the Canadiens in that Kulak trade, but probably not going to play tonight. That trade just happened. So they're basically going to be pulling, throwing something at the wall, see what sticks, is your approach tonight for Marty St. Louis with this third pair of defensemen. Who the hell is it going to be? It's going to be Schoenman, and maybe you got to call someone up in an emergency from the AHL, because Lagesson's not going to be here in time to play for this game. So this is a very, very concerning blue line in terms of their depth tonight, which could be bad news, which means, you could see Boston light the lamp. I certainly could make a case for Boston team total tonight over 3.5. I do like the full game over. That is the main bet for me in this game, is over 6, Bruins and Habs. I do think Montreal offensively, I like what I see. And the one thing they've got is still they've got the guys in the lineup that have been producing lately. Suzuki, Caulfield, especially. Those are the guys that have been driving the bus for Montreal offensively. So I think at home they could chip in some goals, and I certainly think Boston will find the back of the net as well. So I like over 6, maybe a smaller look toward a Bruin team total, over 3.5. I did cash with Montreal team total against Ottawa. I thought that was a game they'd win. And look, they're not an easy team to lay a price with, because they give you a really good effort night in and night out. They're in every game, it seems, lately. But they have cooled off a little, 2 and 4 in their last 6 games. But again, they've been right there, and even in all the losses, 5-3 to Vancouver with an empty netter, 4-3 shootout loss to Seattle, 6-3 to Arizona, but they really carried the play and dominated the game. They deserved a better fate there. And then a 4-3 loss to Dallas in overtime. So they've been right in every game. It's not easy to lay this kind of a number against this Montreal team, but I do think they're kind of up against it, particularly defensively tonight, with that depth issue for the blue line after this trade deadline day. What do you think here, Alex? Boston, Montreal.
Yeah, you mentioned that this is going to be a thin blue line for Montreal moving forward, and that's the thing to look at from a betting standpoint with the deadline is there's going to be some of these teams that are out of the race that are going to have some glaring weaknesses now, especially with goaltending and the blue line, and even the offenses being affected as well. And when you're looking at these high prices, everything is a big favorite. Every team, all the favorites are big favorites tonight. So you got to find ways to go around that. And I like that first period over. And Jimmy mentioned it as he was leaving out. I really like that here within this spot. Both teams are 7-3 the last 10 to the first period over. And you're not going to find a lot of value with the Bruins, even laying the half a goal. I think you're probably looking at plus 110 for the first period. So I'm going to go with that first period over, laying $1.35 at 1.5. And like I said, lean with the full game over as well too. Montreal, if they can't stop this Boston team, we know how Boston can get. Sometimes they can kind of get in their own way, maybe only score 3 goals, but then sometimes they can get everything rolling offensively and put in 6 or 7 on their own. So I definitely won the first period over, but I lean with the full game over as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's worth noting with Boston and Montreal, 2 head-to-head games this year, 6+ goals in both games. One had 6 and one had 7 total goals. So I think worst case scenario, you push here with the total over 6, and I think it'll have a good chance to clear that number. And by the way, Montreal back to being the over machine. We talked about this on the weekend. Montreal entering this game 8-0-1 to the over in their last 9 games. So it's been definitely a heavy over-trending team, no doubt. And we want to make a big trade that's just gone down about a couple of minutes ago. It's just all the details are being confirmed yet. We haven't got all the details, but it looks like Andrew Kopp is going to the New York Rangers. Great deal. If that's the case, Andrew Kopp to the New York Rangers, that is a great deal because they need another forward. They rely a lot on Zibanejad and Panarin and Kreider and Strome to a lesser extent. Lafreniere's not really had that burst we expected for a top pick like him. Capocaco's injured, and they haven't gotten enough consistently from their depth forward. So getting Andrew Kopp's a great pickup. Great job by the Rangers. Phenomenal. I can't say enough how great a job Chris Drury did bringing in Andrew Kopp here for this team. Terrific job by Drury, the general manager. Kopp can score for you. He's terrific defensively. He can play in the penalty kill. Like I say, he can chip in goals for you. Just that all-around two-way forward, two-way player that is going to really be a benefit to the Rangers down the stretch. So like it. Good job. Thumbs up to Chris Drury for sure on that one. Andrew Kopp to the Rangers. Alex, what do you think of that? Kopp to the Rangers sounds like a great fit to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, Ranger team now, they're making, like I said, even that with adding Justin Braun as well to that blue line. It's a Ranger team that's trying to, get themselves short up to not just be, obviously going to be the postseason, but to win a series and move forward. Obviously, you got the best goalie right now, it's Shesterkin. And if they can get, like I said, just a blend of offense. It's funny, I was mentioning it the other night about how, the teams that win, you got to have depth scoring. You got to be able to have multiple guys every night. You just can't rely on the, one or two guys. Now that they're kind of building that depth, they can get that in motion and get some good momentum offensively going into the end of the season. And I think that'll be a huge push for them because we know what they can do defensively. They can hang around in 2-1 games. Shesterkin can steal a game or two in a 7-game series, but can they get that offense rolling enough to where they can give you 4 or 5 goals a night to keep up with those other teams like the Floridas and Tampa Bays of the world? That's what they have to prove. They have to get that offense rolling. So. I think that's a good move for them. Like I said, he does add some, solid play in the back end as well. So you can find a good two-way guys right now. That's a big help for the Rangers.
Yeah, no doubt. I like it. We haven't heard the return yet, occupancy for Winnipeg in that deal, but as soon as I hear it, we'll definitely let you know. But good stuff for the Rangers getting Andrew. 36 points, by the way, in 55 games for the Jets this year. So, that's a guy that can give you some offense too. That's what I like. It's not just the defensive component. He will contribute to the scoreboard a little bit for this Rangers team as well. Terry, if you got any thoughts on the Kopp deal, you can mention them. And also, what do you think here of the game Boston and Montreal tonight?
No, Rangers, they're stacking up. They're going to be in the playoffs. This is the time to add. Something interesting, Trisha says in the chat, Hammond to Devils. I wonder why the Devils would trade for Hammond, who's hurt. Like, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me.
The Hamburglar on his way to Jersey? Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, because he's injured and they're not making the playoffs, so I don't really know exactly what that. Maybe they're moving another goaltender. I guess we'll have to see.
Yep.
But with the Bruins Canadiens here, Boston has had Montreal's number, 6-1 in the last 7 trips to Montreal. Boston 29-3 on the road this year, 6-1-1 in their last 8 games. It has trended under though when Boston's gone to Montreal, 3 over 7 under in the last 10 between these two teams. But Montreal trading away their defense. Jake Allen, who's looked okay since coming back. I like Boston here. I'm gonna jump on the puck line as well. I like what this Boston team is doing.
Yeah, all right, good stuff indeed. All right, so, by the way, the Rangers aren't done. They've just made another deal with the Canucks. Tyler Mott is coming to the New York Rangers as well in a separate deal with the Vancouver Canucks. So they weren't screwing around when they said we got to get some depth with our forward group because they just have not been getting consistently much from the bottom 6 forwards. And boy, Tyler Mott's another guy that's going to help that for the Rangers a little bit. 15 points, that's solid. That's solid numbers for a guy that's playing on a third line. 15 points this year. He's good away from the puck as well. You like what you see from Tyler Mott's game, and another guy that's going to help this Rangers team out, no question. So there you go, back-to-back trades for the Rangers, bringing in Andrew Kopp and Tyler Mott in the last 10 minutes. So good stuff for New York there. All right, Vegas, Minnesota. Alex B. Smith will be there at XL Energy Center tonight for this game. Golden Knights and Wild, Minnesota minus 180, home favorite, 6.5 the total. I bet over the total 6 minus 125 early. Actually, it was overnight. It was one of my. I like the goals to be scored in this game. This was before all this trade stuff went down with Marc-Andre Fleury and Middleton. Keep in mind, neither one is going to be available tonight. So, you're not going to see either one for the Wild tonight. And you're going to see Cam Talbot, obviously, in net because Fleury won't be starting until the next game for the Minnesota Wild. So I'm sticking with my over position in this game. Over 6. It's now 6.5 across the board. I think you'll see Minnesota find the back of the net. Vegas, look, they got to show me they can take what they did at home and go on the road. It's been nice to see them bounce back at home despite all the injuries and absences. Pacioretty, Stone, McNabb, Martinez, Hutton, Leonard, Smith. I mean, they've all been out with the same guys we've talked about for several games being out for the Golden Knights. It was nice to see them bounce back, win at home, 5-3 and 5-1. But at the same point in time, and finally get some offense going too. But at the same time, they got to show they can do it on the road. And on the road, this team was dreadful defensively. It wasn't necessarily great from the Logan Thompson and Laurent Brossoit duo in net, which is, of course, who's got to hold the fort right now for Vegas until Robin Leonard comes back. So I think Minnesota here fired up at home. I could see them exploding a little bit offensively, but I could see Vegas chipping in because, with this Minnesota team, their defensive reinforcements, Marc-Andre Fleury, they're not going to get here till the next game. I think Vegas, with what we've seen from them the last couple of games, they scored 4 against Columbus, 3 against Vegas, 5 in the back-to-back home wins against LA and Florida. I think they can contribute as well. So I like over the total in this one. Alex, you will be there. What do you think? Vegas, Minnesota.
Yeah, like I said, I'm expecting a playoff-like atmosphere tonight. Obviously, I mean, you got the Wild playing against the team they met in the playoffs last is Vegas. You got the hype of the trade. Like I said, Fleury, he won't play, but even if he's in the building, if he's in the press box, if he addresses and sits on the bench, however they announce him, it's going to be a loud and thunderous applause for sure. So I think that's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a momentum builder and carry. I think that's going to trickle down to the guys on the ice. So I like Minnesota to score first. That's something I'll probably look to play live. I like the first period over, but it's 2 plus $1.20. I don't play a lot of 2s, especially lately. I've been trying to whittle that down, get a better price and a better number live in game. But I wouldn't talk anybody out of the 2 tonight. Honestly, I could see where this could be a high scoring first period for both teams. So if you have the option to bet both teams to score, I saw Cruzado in the chat post that plus 165. I would endorse that as well. I think we're going to see a fast-paced start. Like I said, much like a playoff game. That's what I think. I'm expecting that kind of intensity right off the bat. 6.5 is something I definitely wouldn't be playing. If you could find, if you like the full over, definitely wait in game for that. But it just should be an electric atmosphere for sure. And I think Minnesota, like I said, this is one of those games, and like Terry mentioned, but this homestand, you have to build that momentum of winning at home. Obviously, that's what the Wild have been doing all year. They've been one of the best home teams for a long time. But to get this momentum and really sell the point home of, hey, we're getting ready for a deep playoff run. Let's take care of business night in, night out here at home. Then we deal with what we deal with on the road. Obviously, you're gonna have to figure out how to win there too. But this definitely feels like a spot where the Wild could have a big night tonight. So I would also go with my official plays for this will be Wild in Vegas first period over and 1.5 live. I'm going to go Wild regulation minus $1.25, and I'm going to go Wild first to score, but I'm also going to look for that live. Probably laying $1.25 or $1.30.
Exactly. Get a better price because you cannot get that now pre-game. That is for sure. Alex, we know you got to run in a couple of minutes, so we'll let you talk. We'll give your best bet at the end, but also talk a little bit Edmonton, Colorado, Nashville, Anaheim. What do you like in those 2 games?
Yeah, nothing with Edmonton, Colorado. I mean, that's a really high price. Even you got to be laying $1.50 even in regulation with Colorado in that spot. So that's a game. It's a complete pass for me. Anaheim, Nashville. I'm a little tempted to play the over there. Seeing a 5.5. These are 2 teams that have kind of been up and down, or we've seen them have offensive bursts, and then all of a sudden they will go a few games and cool off. So it's a slight lean to the over there. And my best bet for the night would be that Bruins Habs. So same thing as Jimmy, Bruins Habs first period over $1.35. It's the only thing that I've played right now. Everything else I'm going to be playing closer to game time or in game. So.
All right, great stuff. There we go. Best bet over 1.5. First period, Boston, Montreal. There we go. Alex, great to have you back on the show, and enjoy the hockey game tonight. It's going to be a great atmosphere down at the XL.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm jealous of you, Alex.
yeah.
I'm so jealous of you. It's going to be amazing.
I'll take a picture and send it to you on Twitter, man. So, all right. See you guys. Have a good one.
There he is, Alex B. Smith. See Alex. There it is, Alex B. Smith. Back on the show. Great to have him back. We miss Alex when he's not here. And I feel it, definitely. I mean, almost, last week was just a write-off for him with all the fucking drilling and noise and everything going on in his apartment. But good to see Alex and hear him back here on the show today. All right, Terry, here's your chance to talk Vegas, Minnesota.
Yeah. The Wild 4-1-1. in their last 6 games. So I guess it's fair to say they've turned the corner from that rough stretch there. 6 over, 2 under, 1 landed on 6 in their last 9. Vegas 2-5 in their last 7, 4 over, 2 under, 1 landed on 6. The Wild 6-0-2 in their 8 regular season games at home versus Vegas. Vegas has not had much success coming here in Minnesota. Talbot's won 4 starts in a row, 906 save percentage, 2.5 goals against. Brossoit is projected, if he does play, he's 1-4 in his last 5 games, 849 save percentage, and a 3.4 goals against average. This Wild is the Wild are the second best scoring team at home. With the Fleury trade, with the Middleton trade, I expect Talbot to come out, and I expect him to come out to play tonight. Obviously, he doesn't want to just give up the net to Fleury. He's gonna try to make it tough for Fleury to get the starting job, I'm sure. The Wild should be motivated. The crowd should be amazing. I'm on the Wild, no surprise, in regulation. I also have Boston and Minnesota parlayed, both money lines and both in regulation as well. I really like Boston and Minnesota both tonight. This is going to be a fun game to watch. Also, Kaprizov, anytime goal, and Kaprizov over 3.5 shots, both at plus 110. Kaprizov has scored some very nice goals against this Vegas team in the regular season. And he's been hitting 3, 4, 5 shots each night. So I think he gets to 4 shots tonight. I think he scores maybe even Kaprizov over 1.5 points. I see this being a big game for the Wild tonight.
Big game. I agree. I like the over, and I think most of it's going to be Minnesota contributing to that. Like I say, I got to see Vegas play good on the road here. That road trip was an abomination for them before they went back home and they beat Florida and LA in back-to-back games, which was good. And those were 2 pretty good teams, Florida and LA. Good wins for Vegas, considering especially who they've got out of the lineup right now. But that was at home. On the road, that was a disaster for them. You know, they're losing to the Sisters of the Poor of the National Hockey League, too, on that road trip. Buffalo, Philly, you know, they lost a couple of really bad ones, too. In that Columbus is up and down. They lost to them. So it was a rough road trip for Vegas, and we'll see if they can bring what they did at home with them on the road. I got to be proven. I got to see the proof first before I bet it. What do you think here, Terry? Next up, our next game should be one of the games of the night for sure. Along with Vegas, Minnesota is probably the next best game. Edmonton, Colorado. We got Colorado minus 200 home favorites, 6.5 the total. I think this game means a little something to Ed. Not that it doesn't mean anything to Colorado, it does, but I think this is a spot I think Edmonton could be live, and I'm going to look a little bit toward them in a first period full game money line split. Again, do I feel strongly? No. How can you with Mike Smith in net? I get that. That's a worry. There's no question and a concern for me in this game. But, you know, Mike Smith did play good last time. Now, it was Buffalo. I hear it. It's not, it's not Colorado, obviously, but 1 goal allowed, 27 saves on 28 shots. It's step in the right direction here for Mike Smith. No question about that. I just think for Edmonton, Colorado loses this game tonight. It's no big deal. They know they're great. They know they're a good team. They know they're going to be contending for a cup. I think for Edmonton, we got to show what we can do against someone really, really good, because this is a nice run. They have played some really good hockey, Edmonton. I like what I see from them right now. They've won 5 in a row. Washington, they beat Tampa Bay. Let's give them their due there. They beat the Lightning 4-1. That was an impressive win there. Yeah, a little shaky against Detroit. Had to hang on 7-5, but they pretty much controlled the game back-to-back against Buffalo and New Jersey, 2 teams you'd want them to beat. You'd expect them to beat. They did. They took care of business. I think this is a huge game for Edmonton. It's time to show that, hey, we're going on the road. We're facing this juggernaut Avalanche team, and we are definitely going to try to show that, we can compete with these teams, not only now, but come playoff time. And for Colorado, Terry, there's one thing that does concern me. They got bodies coming in, bodies going out right now with this trade deadline like crazy. So their lineup's a little unsettled right now. And if you're Jared Bednar tonight, you might have to shake things up. You might have to shake up your forward lines. You may have to shake up your D pairs tonight in this game because of what's going on and all the trade deadline activity. That's something that, concerns me a little bit. Josh Manson's going to make his Avalanche debut, but or actually he did make his debut the other or last game, I should say, against LA. But when you look at it here, still he's getting used to things. They're still without Byram and Girard on the back end. Landeskog out up front. There's going to be some shakeups in terms of the forward group, the D pairs too. So and because you're going to see maybe some changes, you may not see a situation where this team is fully, in sync tonight. Not that they won't be for sure, but they have won 3 in a row. But I just look at this price and I go back to the last time, Terry, that Colorado hosted Edmonton. It was 2 years ago. It's been a while. But in that game, Colorado as a home favorite was minus 120 in that game. And now we're at a point here where now Colorado's minus 200, minus 210. This is what we're looking at here. We're looking at Edmonton being priced like they're absolute chopped liver against the Avalanche. And that's what this price is trying to tell you, that this team is just chopped liver, dead as a doornail compared to Colorado. I don't buy that. And I think the effort is there for Edmonton. I think this is a proving ground of sorts. If they win this game, it gives them a massive shot of confidence moving forward. Colorado loses this game, conversely. Are they panicking? No, they aren't. And, we have started to see Colorado lose at home lately. Let's keep that in mind. Arizona beat them at home recently. They got a major scare from the Islanders, in a home game. They lost to Calgary, obviously, in overtime. Arizona beat them at home. Dallas has beaten them at home. I think there's a shot, a puncher's chance at the very least for Edmonton in this game. So I'm going to go with small bets toward the first period money line and the full game money line split here on the Edmonton side in this one. The team total too, over 2.5, might be something to consider. Kemper had the shutout streak snapped finally against San Jose. And I know what it's like with Darcy Kemper. I know he's a very good goalie, but when he goes on the great shutout streak like he did, he got it snapped against San Jose. This is when sometimes he has that little bobble, and then he goes a couple of games where he looks ordinary again, and maybe you see that tonight against Edmonton. So, like I say, if there's one dog that I'm going to take a shot with tonight on this card, this is that game. What do you think here, Terry? Oilers, Avalanche.
Oh, did Kemper play versus the Sharks? Because I thought he was still on his 2-game shutout streak.
Let me just double check. Yeah, he is actually still on. You're right. It wasn't him against San Jose. That's my bad. Yeah, he did play Calgary. He did play LA. Yeah, he's on that shutout streak. But look, I think it's going to be a challenge tonight against Edmonton still. Yeah.
Yeah. Oilers, they've won 5 in a row, 4 over, 1 under. They've been scoring. Colorado 4-2 in their last 6, 3 over, 3 under. The last 6 meetings in Colorado, Edmonton's 4-2. 4 over, 1 under.
Francouz played against San Jose. Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 landed on 6. So these are high-scoring teams lately when they faced each other. But Kemper has been very good lately. A .951 save percentage in his last 5, 1.6 goals against versus Mike Smith. This game's tough for me. Right now I have nothing on it. I think it should go over. But Kemper, I could see it going under if Kemper continues his streak. I could see the Oilers upsetting, but Mike Smith scares me. So this game is kind of just a stay off for me as of right now. It's pretty tough here.
Yeah, no question about that. Yeah, over under is tough because Smith was also excellent in his last start, and that's the last time we saw him. He played great, and obviously Kemper's on this shutout streak. Which is something you really want to keep in mind as well as far as the total goes in this game. And look, they've actually been trending under the total lately, especially in their own conference. 12 and 5 to the under in their last 17 games against Western Conference teams, Colorado. So that's why I'm staying off the total here. I did consider maybe both teams first period, but and I still might bet that small plus 125, but I could see that being a 1-1 game and then maybe settling down after that. But I think both teams bring energy at the onset. So that's and I think Edmonton certainly does, which is why I think that both teams to score first period in this game plus 125 might be something to consider here. All right, Nashville, Anaheim. This is the final game of this Monday card. Nashville minus 170 road favorites, 5.5 the total in this one. This is going to be that game on this card where if it doesn't work out well for yours truly, it's going to be a losing night in the NHL because I want to say I've loaded up on this game, but we've got a bunch of different angles that we've hit, and it's all involving Nashville scoring and Nashville getting it done offensively tonight, which I think they will in this game. You look at the situation for Anaheim. John Gibson's in net. He's been awful for the better part of the last month and a half. He was a little bit better against Florida. I guess 3 goals is now, we're supposed to do handstands, jumping jacks, and celebrate now and wave the pom-poms for John Gibson that he gives up 3 goals against Florida. Like that's some big accomplishment, some big turnaround. I mean, he still gave up 3 goals. Was he a little bit better? Yeah. But that's what we're celebrating right now with John Gibson. That, yeah, he gave up 3 goals. Woo, what a performance. I mean, that's where we're at right now with John Gibson. It's been a brutal run for him. And if you thought he was struggling before, now look at this depleted, and I mean depleted Anaheim blue line now. I mean, with the trades that have occurred, Lindholm's been jettisoned out of town. Josh Manson traded last week to Colorado. You talk about blue lines that are patchwork right now going into this hockey game. That's Anaheim at the moment. You've got Fowler, you've got Drysdale, you've got Mahura, and then Shattenkirk, obviously. But that third pair is a worry. You're going to call up Simone Benoit from the minors and Andre Schuster, who is a journeyman, been around forever, a blue liner in the NHL and kicking around in the minors for the last few years. Now he's been called up here tonight against to face Nashville. So that third pair, defensive pair for the Ducks tonight, that's a worry. That's a concern. You've got basically an AHL defensive pair right there playing for you on that third pair tonight against Nashville with a struggling goalie who's shaken with his confidence right now. On the Nashville side, they're starting a road trip. They're going to go through the West Coast swing. They're going to be in LA after this tomorrow night, Vegas after that. They bounced back from a 5-4 loss to the Philadelphia Flyers. Remember, I took Philly as a big home dog in that game against Nashville. I said Nashville probably should beat Philly most nights, but I think they're walking into a tough spot here. Philly, the final game for Claude Giroux with the team, his 1,000th game. They wanted to win that one badly for him, and they did that 5-4. So I don't penalize Nashville too heavily for losing that game, especially when you see them bounce back, Terry, play the way they did against Toronto Saturday night. Very nice bounce back win there against the Leafs. Now they're starting a road trip. They still played some pretty good hockey overall, 6-2 in their last 8 games. I think this is definitely a game they should take care of business. I like what we're seeing offensively, especially from Nashville lately. They've become a very good offensive team during this great run they've put together. They had the 8th spot against San Jose, 4 against Anaheim when they beat them at home, 4 goals against St. Louis, 6 against Minnesota. Unfortunately, you're Wild that night, Terry, had a tough night against Nashville. Nashville put 6 on the board. A couple, though, were empty netters. 4-1 against Pittsburgh. They won. 4 goals against Philly, and then the 6th spot against Toronto, bringing an end to the Eric Shalgren train, derailing the train, at least for one night. Look, it's Duchesne, it's Forsberg, it's Johansson stepped up. Tanner Jeannot seems to make an impact every game for them. Tomasino's given them some offense. And now you face an Anaheim team that's depleted at the back end because of these trades, Gibson and net. I have 4 different bets here tonight in this game. We're on Nashville in regulation at around -110. We're on Nashville team total over 3.5 at +120, which I think is a terrific price. To get to 4 goals tonight with this team, I think they absolutely can do that. So Nashville team total over 3.5 +120. And I'm going to do a little Chris Otto special here in this game with Nashville. Team total over 1.5 first period at +230. That is it's obviously a -190 for them to score in the first period. I'm going to go for the jugular here. A first period team total over 1.5 +230 for the Nashville Predators. And Alex mentioned the full game over 5.5 earlier. I'm on that as well. Nashville Anaheim over 5.5 -120. I just think Nashville's scoring right now. They've got a boatload of confidence. Their power play has been terrific lately as well. Look at this Nashville power play. It has connected in 5 of the last 6 games that they have scored a power play goal, which is very good. And not a surprise, Anaheim's given up a power play goal in back-to-back games. So this looks like a spot where Nashville wins and Nashville lights the lamp early and often. So Nashville and reg. Nashville first period team total over 1.5 +230. Nashville full game team total over 3.5 +120. And Nashville Anaheim over 5.5 -120 full game total. There you have it. All right, Terry, what do you think? Nashville Anaheim.
This is another game I'm staying away from, actually. Nashville, like everything you just said, Ian, is correct. They should come out here and they should smash this Ducks team. However, they've not fared well in Anaheim. The Ducks have won. They're 8-1 in the last 9 meetings in Anaheim. The same type of thing we had here when Dallas was in Washington. They had won 8 of the last 9 in Washington. I went with Washington and
That's
Reg.
true. They have a bad history here. You're right about that in Anaheim in the Duck Pond.
I went with the hotter team and Capitals, but the Dallas just wins in Washington. And same thing here. Ducks struggle here in Anaheim. So I'm staying away from this game just because my gut's telling me to stay away. However, in these meetings, when these two teams do face each other, it's 6 over, 2 under, 2 landed on 6. So I could see goals here. I could definitely see goals here. Waiting to see who's in net for Nashville exactly, because there hasn't been any confirmations yet. It is Gibson for the Ducks. This one scares me.
Saros for Nashville because they play tomorrow night in L.A. I believe, it's tomorrow night in Los Angeles. So you might see David Riddick tonight. You might, although he has won his last 2 starts, I believe. He's won each of his last 2 starts, so he's been a little bit better, which is good to see. And it's a manageable opponent in Anaheim. But if anything, that might make me increase the unit size by a quarter unit or something on the full game over if I see that it's Riddick tonight.
Yeah, it's 5.5 minus 125. I'm jumping on that right now. Like there has to be.
Yep.
There should be definitely some goals in this game with Anaheim's defense. I think Predators win it, but the past history is keeping me off. Me off. But I'm going to jump on the over. I think we see goals for sure.
Yeah, they're 6-3 over in the last 9, Nashville, and a lot of it has been obviously the surge in the offense. I mean, that's exactly why they've trended over, and it's why they've been winning games. And I've never looked at Nashville necessarily as a good offensive team, and I think they're going to have some, regression with this offense at some point. But right now, with Forsberg, Johansson, Duchesne, Eli Tolvanen keeps impressing as a young forward. Granlund, Cunnin, like I said, Tanner Jeannot seems to score big goals for them. Tomasino can chip in, and he's down on the 4th line right now. So definitely like what I'm seeing from Nashville at this point in time. Again, we'll see who's in net for Nashville. Saros, will it be him? And if not, it could be Riddick with them playing LA tomorrow night. So we'll see. But I think Nashville, even with Riddick in net, could still win this game because I think it's just they will score on this Anaheim defense, which is depleted. And John Gibson, obviously not exactly playing at a high level at the moment for the Ducks. Now he's got an even weaker blue line in front of him tonight than he's had for the last several weeks when he's been struggling and fighting the puck and fighting his confidence. So that's the way I see it. I think that Nashville can find a way, and more than anything, goals in this game. Nashville goals and the full game over 5.5 minus 120. I like that as well. All right, great stuff with Terry Edelman, Alex B. Smith, Jimmy Murphy. They joined us as well on the show earlier. We thank everyone for joining us on this Monday edition of the Ice Guys Show. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. We will, of course, get to best bets in just a second. Looks like we've got a couple late-breaking trades. We do want to update those before we wrap up the show. It looks like Max Domi is headed to the Carolina Hurricanes. And that's not surprising that he's headed somewhere because he was pulled off the ice in terms of the morning skate. Max Domi to the Carolina Hurricanes. And interesting because we know with him, Max Domi, he's not exactly had a great year. He's not exactly someone that's apparently easy to gel within the team dynamic and the dressing room necessarily. So how that works with Carolina will be interesting. But look, Tony DeAngelo was a problem child as well when Carolina got him, and look how that's worked out for them. He's fit in nicely. He's been a great teammate, and I think they're kind of hoping that that's the same thing for Max Domi here with the Hurricanes. And yes, Derek Brassard as well, as someone mentioned in the chat, on the move as well. They've acquired. We think they've acquired Derek Brassard. Apparently, they're working on it, but it looks like he might be at least on the move to Edmonton right now as we speak. So that's the latest. Busy trade deadline day, and we'll see how the push for the playoffs begins. And now after tonight, starting tomorrow, I'm going to track over-unders in the NHL, and I want to see if we start seeing the worm turn a little bit and more unders, because I've been saying this for weeks. I said if I had to pick a time when I think we'll start to see tighter checking, lower scoring hockey, it'll be after the deadline. So let's see if that's the case tomorrow and moving forward. I'll be tracking that for sure. DraftKings Sportsbook, we want to mention them, official sports betting partner of the NHL. They have your shot to win big too. New customers can bet just $1 on any NHL team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's right. A bump in the win column for your team means free bets for you. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you still have a shot to light the lamp. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy hockey contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $1 on any NHL team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older. Restrictions apply. Must reside in a DraftKings Sportsbook state. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app, sign up for an account, and use the promo code THPN. All right, it is time for best bets for the Monday show. And Dana, you're right, a lot of unders yesterday. Dana Schneider in our chat. So maybe the unders post deadline, maybe they started a day early. We'll see. But something to track. We'll track them tonight as well, and certainly tomorrow and beyond. We're going to look to see if maybe we see a few more unders moving forward as well. And John, I agree. Rangers got a whole lot better. Huge up, yeah. Julian Gauthier and Greg McKegg are floating around there on their bottom six. Please give me a break. I mean, now you bring in Kopp, you bring in Mott. Those are upgrades without a doubt. All right, best bets for this Monday card. I'm hoping maybe Terry does something outside the box here and maybe something a little bit different in terms of best bet. I kind of think I already know where he's going, but maybe he'll surprise me. I doubt it. We'll see. Terry, what do you think here for Monday night best bet?
I was looking at Wild and Regulation, but you know what? I will do something different. Boston, Minnesota, money line parlay, which I will get the odds here for you. Boston, Minnesota, money line parlay plus 121. I like that as my best bet.
All right, Boston, Minnesota, money line parlay plus 121 for Terry. For his best bet. Threw another team into his best bet. So, yeah, he did change it out a little bit. Just a little bit. All right, my best bet for this Monday card, I'm going to go Nashville, Anaheim. I was going to go Nashville team total or Nashville in regulation. You might see Riddick, so I'm going to pivot to the total. I'm going to pivot to that over 5.5, minus 120 for Nashville, Anaheim. I think Nashville in I'm still betting Nashville in regulation and Nashville team totals, even if Riddick is in net. But I think even more, it'll step up the strength of my opinion on the over for the full game if David Riddick's in net, because that could open the door a little bit for Anaheim, who, still have Terry and Troy Terry and Zegras and guys that can put the puck in the net for them against still a little inconsistent at times David Riddick. But I certainly think Nashville's scoring goals in bunches tonight against a short-handed blue line, a struggling goalie in John Gibson. Let's go over 5.5, minus 120, Anaheim and Nashville. That's going to be my best bet for this Monday NHL card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. And I'll plug his show because it's not on when the Ice Guys is on. Getting Wild with Terry. You can check out his show as well daily on his channel if you want even more NHL analysis and picks and betting breakdowns and all that. So thanks to our special guest, Terry Edelman, for Alex B. Smith and Jimmy Murphy as well, who joined us earlier. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Monday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow on Tuesday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.